Hi everybody, my name is Pam. Welcome to my channel for Goodness Keepsakes, and today I'm really excited to show you how to make this really cute little pumpkin. Making this pumpkin has a couple little interesting stitches in it, but I think would be relatively easy even for beginners to figure out. And all you need is some worsted weight yarn, an H-hook, and maybe an optional cinnamon stick with some hot glue. And with that being said, let's get started. So to get started, I'm going to use a 5mm H-hook and some orange yarn. I'm going to make a slip knot. And we're going to start by chaining 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. There's our chain of 30. And we're going to, each row is going to have 29 stitches. We're going to start by doing one single crochet in each of these 29 stitches, of course skipping the first chain because that counts as our turn chain. So I tend to work under the back and bottom loops. You crochet however you want. You can crochet, just crochet into the chain 29 times. 3, 4, I don't know why I'm counting, because I'm just working to the end. I mean, I guess it's always good to double check, but I usually don't. I usually just suffer if I'm wrong. But the alternative to skip this is to start your row with a foundation single crochet 29 times. That's an option if you prefer to do that, which most of the time I do. But in this particular project, it actually doesn't matter, and it works just as well to just start with a chain 30 and a single crochet 29 times. So yes, we are using an odd number of stitches. And it's going to stay the same. I can hear my rooster outside crowing. Cock-a-doodle-doo. We just got baby chicks. I'm very excited about that. They hatched yesterday. They're like a cross between Barred Rocks and Sapphire Splashes. Alright, here's the last one. Alright, then we're going to chain 1, turn. Whoop. It wants to curl up. It's fine. Now we're going to do that again. So we've chained 1, turned, and going in the first stitch and across, we're just going to single crochet. Just like normal. So that's 29 single crochets to the other side. And remember, if I'm going way too fast for you, you can always adjust the playback speed on YouTube. I'm very thankful for that feature because sometimes well, for one, I can go lightning fast with certain things that I'm sure is cumbersome for others and not the most helpful. And 2, because I also struggle to understand things and sometimes need somebody to go slower, and it's nice that I can force them to be slower. So, we're just going to stitch across to the other side. And the side that's facing me right now is actually going to be the correct or the right side of the project. The next row we're going to start doing these little mini puff stitches. We're going to start doing these little mini puff stitches, and the other side of the puff stitch is the right side. So whenever you're working a row of puff stitches, you're actually got the wrong side facing you. So here we go, up to the end. That's the last one. Chain 1 and turn. So you should have 2 rows of 29 single crochets. That wants to twist up and do whatever it wants to do. Into the first stitch, we're going to single crochet. So now we're going to do a 3 double crochet puff stitch. We're going to start by yarning over as if to double crochet. We're going to insert and draw up a loop as if to double crochet. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 as if to double crochet, but we're going to stop here and do it again. So yarn over, insert your hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. There's the second one, and we have 3 loops. We're going to do it one more time. Yarn over, go back into the same stitch again, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 4, and that is a 3 double crochet puff stitch. You're basically just double crocheting 3 stitches together in 1 stitch. Then we're going to go into the next stitch with a single crochet. Make sure that you keep your tension a little bit tight there so that it's not just loose and floppy, and what that'll do is make your puff out more. Then repeat, yarn over, and going into the next stitch we're going to draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the stitch, draw up another loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the stitch once more, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 4, and then single crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to repeat this going across. So into the next stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then when you have 4 loops on your hook, you yarn over and pull through all 4, then single crochet in the next stitch. So it's like trying to do 3 double crochets. You do the first half of 1 double crochet, the first half of a second double crochet, and the first half of a third double crochet all in the same stitch, then yarn over and pull through everything. Whoops. Then go into the next stitch, single crochet, and then repeat. Do the first half of 1 double crochet, the first half of 2 double crochets, and the first half of 3 double crochets all in the same stitch, then yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, single crochet in the next stitch. Yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and keep doing that till you have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 4, and then single crochet into the next stitch. So that is a 3 double crochet puff. So it's like you're trying to put 3 double crochets all into 1 stitch, but you're also doing a 3 double crochet decrease all at the same time, and it makes this weird little bobble on the back side. See how it pops up? So this is your right side and this is your wrong side. So we're going to keep doing that across, and when you're finished you should have, I believe is it 14 or 15 bobbles? I can't remember. We're going to find out in a second. 1, 2, 3, slip, slurp. I'm just going to make sound effects. Maybe I shouldn't. So, double crochet in the next stitch. And so the reason, of course, that we have an odd number of stitches is because if we didn't, we would be ending with a bobble, and I don't want to end with a bobble. I want to end with a single crochet. So there's an odd number of stitches, so you're going to be doing this over and over again, and the last stitch is going to be a single crochet, not a bobble. I gotta free up more yarn. I'm getting hung up on the yarn. Alright, so I got a couple more to do. There's this one, and a single crochet, and one more, followed by the last single crochet. Well, once I get there, there we go, single crochet into that last stitch. And we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14 bobbles across. I thought it was 14, but I wasn't sure. 14 bobbles, which makes sense. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn. And we're just going to go into each of these stitches. They look a little funny because of the bobbles, but we're just going to go into each of these stitches with a single crochet. So we're going to be single crocheting 29 times across. It can be a little bit weird when working into the stitch with the bobble in it, and I find it helpful when doing that not to go here, but like to try to actually aim closer to the other stitch, because that's the easiest part of the gap to get into. If that makes sense. I have no idea if that even makes sense, but I tend to work towards the left-hand side of the stitch because that's the easiest part to get into without grabbing a whole bunch of the bobble. And once again, my yarn is getting hung up. If I had a brain, I wouldn't use the yarn the wrong way, but I'm using the yarn the wrong way, which is why I keep getting hung up. So we're just going to keep stitching across. So single crochet once in each stitch. It got eerily quiet in my house. And when you have toddlers in the house, that's a concerning sound, is silence. Or is it really a lack thereof? Alright, so here's the last one. Chain one turn, and then guess what? We're just going to single crochet across again. Easy peasy, right? So single crochet 29 times across for the next row. Alrighty, here we go. Made it to the end. Now the next row, we're going to chain one turn, and if it looks like it's cinching in, just stretch it back out. It's actually fine. It does have a tendency to want to curl in a little bit and look like you're doing something wrong, but you're actually fine. It's just being the way it is. So the next row, we're still going to chain one turn, but this next row is actually going to be half double crochets. So starting in the first stitch, we're going to start half double crocheting. So that's when you yarn over, insert your hook, drop a loop, and yarn over, pull through everything. And we're going to do that all the way across. I love half double crochets because you get kind of like the snugness of the stitches of a single crochet, but a little bit more drape and of course the added height, which makes your project work a little bit faster. And half double crochets carry that third bottom loop in them like the way that double crochets do. That's going to be handy to us for the next row. So that's kind of important. So I'm going to double crochet 29 times starting in the first stitch. A lot of times people, this is another area where I tend to crochet kind of quirky. I mentioned it in another video. I do things weird. I almost never half double crochet in the second stitch and start with a chain two. I always chain one and half double crochet in the first stitch. I think it looks better and it works better, and that's how I do it. And that's how I'm doing it for this pattern because it looks better. So now that we've gotten to the end, I'm going to chain one turn. And apparently I got to loosen a bunch of my yarn again. And the next row is going to be single crochets again, but we're going to be working in the bottom loop, not the back loop. And that's an important distinction because it's going to give you a really cool rib look, but you got to do it right. So for the next row, we're going to work, if you look, it kind of looks like you're looking at the top of the project here, but that's the top of the project. That weird extra loop that runs, what? Okay, I gotta help the kids. Problem solved. So you'll see there's the top two loops. Here's the bottom loops right along here. We're going to be working in those bottom loops. So starting here, going underneath here, not under the back, not under the front, under the bottom loop, we're going to single crochet. just under the bottom loop. And what that's actually going to do is cause those top 2 loops, you'll see, to be pushed forward to the front and look like a really cool, almost like a knit stitch or something, or like slip stitches. It's really cool the effect it has. So your stitches end up being about the same height as if you were to have done single crochets, but you get that really cool like row of a sort of knit look. I really don't know what you would call that, like a rib, a knit, I don't know. It looks neat. It makes my eyeballs happy. So I'm just going across this whole row in just the bottom loops. It kind of helps to kind of twist it forward, and it sort of does that obviously as you work in it, to go just in that bottom loop. And it pushes the top 2 loops, the front and back loop, forward, and then you end up with this pretty stripe, which you'll see in a second. We are, you can tell, facing the wrong way, so that means I'm working my way back with the wrong side facing me, which is pushing the pretty stitches forward. When you get to the end, it can be a little annoying, but I will say, to be completely honest, if you get to the ends and you struggle, these ends are going to be seamed anyway, so if you do the first and the last stitch like normal because they're kind of annoying you, it's completely inconsequential because you're going to be stitching it anyway, so no one's going to see it. So chain 1, turn, and look at that. See, you've got that cool stripe going down the front, right? Really neat. So then for the next row, we're going to single crochet across 29 times. Much easier, right? So we're just going to work across 29 times. And it looks like I need more slack because I'm getting hung up again. Now, this then would be a repeating pattern. After this row is going to come the 3 double crochet puff stitch row. And you'll know you're doing it right if you have the wrong side facing you when you're doing the double crochet puff rows. Sorry, I'm getting hung up on my yarn over here. Doesn't want to dispense. But anyhow, so you're going to be doing a repeating sequence then of the puff stitches for the next row, followed by 2 rows of single crochets, followed by a row of half double crochets, followed by 2 rows of single crochets, but the first of those 2 rows is going to be the ones done in the bottom loop. So look at that. So here's where you get into the repeating sequence. The next row, when you're going to do a chain 1 turn, you're going to be starting the puff stitches again. So you'll do the single crochet, 3 double crochet puff, and alternate till you get to the end, ending with a single crochet. You'll do 2 rows of single crochet again, a row of half double crochet. Then when you turn around, you'll do a row of single crochet, working in the bottom loops only, another row of single crochet, and then you're going to repeat the sequence again. So repeat that sequence, the puffs, single, single, half double, single in bottom loops, and single, and then repeat puffs, etc., until you have 8 sets of puffs. So 8 of these on your length. And by the magic of film, I have it here. So you can see here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of the puffs, single, single, half double, single in bottom loops, single, and then that's 1 set. And then I repeat that 8 times. And I'm back to where I left off with you last time, where we left off right before the puff stitches. So I've done 8 of these so far. Really cool texture, isn't it? So for the last group, we're going to do our last set. There's going to be 9 of these puff stitches all together, and we'll have the length that we want. So we're going to pick back up together. If you are continuing off here, you're basically going to be doing what I'm doing up here, but I'm doing the last set to show you how to join. So we left off, this is the single crochet row that I left off with you earlier. So chain 1, turn, and we're going to do our row of puffs. So single crochet into the first stitch, do a 3 double crochet puff stitch into the next stitch. Oh, why is it so squeaky? And then a single crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to repeat that sequence across. So this is really squeaky. Why is this yarn so squeaky now? Oh my gosh. It's actually quite hilarious. The yarn's getting hung up again. You know, such is the nature of this particular yarn, apparently. This particular orange yarn wants to keep getting hung up on me. Or on itself, really. Not on me, but on itself. So, puff. Single. Did you just hear my wrists pop? Oh my gosh. Puff. It's squeaking. Single. Is this like asthma now? We're listening to the squeaking of the yarn and the popping of my wrists. Asthma crochet. Oh my gosh. I could stop this probably with a piece of wax paper on this. In fact, I'm going to see if that helps. Alright. Continuing on. Puff stitch. Oh yeah. Look at that. No more squeaking. As it's like squeak. It might still squeak a little, but it's definitely gliding better. Yeah, it's still squeaking, but it's gliding better at least. I don't know why it's so squeaky today. Maybe I'm sweaty or something. So I'm just alternating the 3 double crochet puff stitches with the... Now it's worse! Okay. Oh, we're learning together about how not to stop the squeaking. Apparently the method for not stopping the squeaking is wax paper, because apparently wax paper makes the squeaking actually worse. It's like socks on a squeaky clean floor. I guess maybe that wasn't a good idea. I should have thought that through, huh? It is seriously gliding better, though. It's just funny because now it's even squeakier, which was kind of half the reason I did that. So anyways, at least it's easier to work with. So alternating, whoopsies. Wait a minute. No, that was right. It's just that weird little flake there. There we go. Alternating puffs and single crochets. I'm making sure when I do my single crochets that I pull them kind of tight, because the puff stitches otherwise make it kind of gappy and stupid. This is my 9th row of puff stitches, which is my final row of puff stitches, which I'm okay with because for some reason I really don't like doing puff stitches. Like, I think they look wonderful, but I just can't stand doing them. It drives me nuts. So, one more puff stitch. Hooray. There we go. Last puff and single crochet. Then just like before, we're going to chain 1 turn, and we're going to do 2 rows of single crochet. So starting in the first stitch and going across.
nowhere to hide it. I'm like a beacon shining through. The darkness cannot fight it. New strength is burning in my soul. The world is raring to hide it, but I will push right through.
Alright, and then chain one, turn. This would then be, because you've got your puffs facing you, this would be the row you would normally do a half double crochet, right? Except you're not. Now you're going to join. So all we're going to do is grab the front loop of the project facing you, and for me the only loop of the other side, the starting chain, and slip stitch together. Front loop, corresponding chain loop, grab the right string, slip stitch, front loop. Make sure you don't go into the same one. See how that's going out of this loop? I want to go to the next loop there. Get out of my way. And if you line it up, it gets a little bit easier. Just the front loop and just the other side, slip stitch. Just the front loop and the other side, slip stitch. Front loop, other side, slip stitch. Don't slip stitch too tight or it's going to pucker up and be weird. You want the needle or hook, I'm sorry, the hook to do your gauging for you. So you don't want it to be too loose. You want the hook to do your gauge. So front loop, chain loop, slip, front loop, chain loop, slip. Untwist this, line it back up, front loop, chain loop, slip, front loop, chain loop, slip. If you do the front loop and bottom loop with the chain, what ends up happening is it ends up being kind of bulky and it doesn't look quite as good. So I think it looks better if you do just the front loop and the chain loop and slip. Front loop, chain loop, 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 slip. Keep doing that all the way across. Mine doesn't line up perfectly because this side is not as stretched as this side, and that's why it looks funny. But then when I stretch it, it lines up better. Front loop, chain loop, slip. Whoo! Front loop only, chain loop, slip. Front loop, chain loop, slip. Front loop, chain loop, slip. And now if you open it up, look at that. That looks the same as those, mostly. Not perfect, but it's so invisible that it's not like super detectable that it's any different. At least I think so. Now, before you get too cut happy like I tend to do, I'm going to do a chain one because I'm going to tie a knot, but I want to leave myself about a foot long of a tail because I'm going to be using this to cinch the first side together. So I'm going to pull this straight on through, and actually I'm going to knot it. Whoop, there we go. And I'll grab my needle. I'll just use this one. It's what's there. And what I'm going to do is actually just go in between each puff and each, I don't know what you would call that, ribbing or something. And I'm going to just do a whip stitch. I'm always going to go from outside to in. You could always go from inside to out. It's whatever. But I'm just going to go in between each one. Somewhere in there. between each one. How did I get a loop? There we go. I'm just whip stitching. So where did I just come out of? There, so here. And there. And there. And there. And there. 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 Whoops, I accidentally pulled my yarn out. Where's the start? Am I back at the start? Not quite. Oh. You'll know when you get back to the beginning. Through there. Through here. And it looks like we're back at the beginning, so then you just pull it snug. Do not pull too hard, because you can see this is already getting thin, and you could pop the yarn. That would be bad. That would be really bad. You want to sit with the yarn? What?
Stand up where I can see the trees.
Oh, sweetie, I'm working on a video right now. I'm going to bring this yarn to the inside and flip this out so that I can seam this together a little bit better. Let's just go back around real quick through some of these upper stitches to kind of grab everything and reinforce it just a little bit more.
Mommy, you took my chair.
And then I'm going to tie a knot. Gigi took your chair?
Yeah.
Okay. I got distracted by a kid and I kind of did things stupidly, but there we go, I fixed it. So then you can just trim this short or something. Honestly, you could probably just leave it long and let it stay inside the pumpkin. I gotta address the kid issue. And I'll come back and show you how to do the other side. Now for the other side, I'm going to pull a yard, about a yard of yarn, because I need to have enough yarn for sewing all the way around my pumpkin, because that's what's going to give it some of those fun indents. And I'm going to grab my yarn needle, which I lost already. Oh, I think it's this one. And thread that on there. And I'm going to pick the spot that has this thing, because that's going to be easiest for me to see where the start is. And what I'm going to do is actually just tie this on here. Nothing super fancy, just so it doesn't move. So just a basic knot. There we go. Now that won't move. And now I can seam around the other side. But I'm not going to cinch it tight. So I'm going to, oh, it's inside out, and it's kind of hard to see when it's inside out. Let's flip it the other way. Need it to be the right side out. Alright, so I'm just going to go around and whip stitch. This one I'm actually just kind of haphazardly going around. I usually do like to have them more spaced evenly and thoughtfully, but I'm actually, if it's not obvious, kind of in a hurry. Alright, I'm back to where I started again. Before I cinch it tight, I'm going to get my polyfill. So I'm going to stuff this with some polyfill. I don't want this overstuffed and I don't want it understuffed either. I want to make sure I have enough room for sewing this. Sorry, I'm getting more fluff. I want to make sure I have enough wiggle room for like sewing this down and cinching it into more of a pumpkin shape. And I also want to make sure I don't stuff this so much that I stretch it and you can see the fluff inside. So I think this is probably a good amount, and you'll notice it's not up to the top. It's just the big ball in the center kind of thing, and that's good. You want the room at the top. So now we're going to cinch this shut. I'm going to fluff up that fluff in there just a little bit more. It's going to get compacted again, but I'm going to cinch this shut. I'm going to encourage this to go on the inside because I don't want that on the outside. I want the yarn tails on the inside. And get in there, goofy tail. And before I start sewing, I'm going to tie this real quick, just so it doesn't come unraveled in the process. So I'm going to tighten that up. It came a little bit loose again. See, that's what I'm talking about. I stink at sewing things today. This is why I like to come up with patterns where I don't have to sew things if possible, because I stink at sewing. Whatever. It did a little bit more of what I wanted it to do. There we go. Now, all you do is push the yarn from the center, the needle, from the center. I like to actually go a little bit into the side, not the dead center, or it's going to pull the center wide open, and push all the way to the other side through the fluff. Where is it at? There it is. There's my needle. Yeah, push it. Pull it all the way through. Whee! And then we're going to come around the outside and back up the same side again through the center of the pumpkin back to the top. I'm actually going to go out the center of this side though, because if it pries it open a little bit, that's okay. I kind of want it to. And I'll show you why in a second. So I'm going to pull this snug. Before I pull it super snug, I want to make sure this is laying where I want it to lay, and then pull tight. See how it's cinching the pumpkin in there? Then I might come over here, and I might decide I want it to come over like this. I'm going to hold a little bit of tension on that while I push this through again, because I don't want it to come loose again. And I'm going to push this all the way straight through again. There's my needle. Pull that snug. Look at that. And then I'm going to hold that snug while I flip the pumpkin over and do this again. Keep tension there while I go in right here. And try to pop out the other side. Where's my needle? There it is. Woohoo! Make sure this stays where I want it to and as tight as I want it to, and pull on it. And honestly, you can add as many bumps or divots as you want. I'm going to do one here, I think. Down the center, out the other side. I'm going to pull this first before I then pull this snug to make sure that my stitches are all staying tight. And maybe one more right here. So I'm going to keep holding this snug, push this down through to the other side. Before I pull this all the way through, I'm going to pull up on this and then pull this tight. Now once I'm done, which I think that's good, it's irregular, which I like. I personally prefer it to be irregular. Some people like it to be more symmetrical, and the nice part is that it's your pumpkin, so you can do whatever the heck you want with it. Is I'm just going to pick a random spot and I'm going to tie a knot. I'm keeping tension on this so it stays snug, so that I can then tie it tight. I'm then going to go to the opposite side just because that feels right. I'm just doing stuff, honestly, to secure this. You do what you need to do to secure it. I'll go back underneath that one more time. Pull that out. Pull that snug. Pull that through. There we go. And then what I can do is I can push this needle back to the center. And you'll notice this other side has a big divot in it, which is what I wanted. Whichever side has the biggest divot in it is the best side for anchoring in whatever you want to put in there. I cannot get this in here to save my life. Get in there. I just need you to get in. Just get in there. That way I can cut this really short on this side and the yarn falls inside. Now the only thing left to do, at least in my opinion, is now that I've got one side with a really good divot, is to fill that with some hot glue and stick a cinnamon stick in there, and it'll be perfect. Let me go get that. In fact, I'm just going to do that off screen. I'm literally just going to take my glue gun, put a big blap of hot glue in there, press the cinnamon stick in with the idea of trying to get the glue up the sides a little bit and hold it down until the glue sets. And yes, you can use hot glue with acrylic yarn, although I will say definitely be careful of a high temperature hot glue gun, because with acrylic yarn sometimes it can actually melt the yarn. So I would say if you have a high temp gun, use it on the low temp setting if you can, or just use a low temp glue gun. They're the cheap little ones you can use. And just glue a cinnamon stick in there. Now for this pumpkin, I used an entire cinnamon stick in there, and it's a little sloppy in there, but if you end up with a bunch of little glue strings, one, they can pull right out, or two, you can use a heat gun to get all of those little strings out of there. But just put a blap of hot glue in there and then stuff the stick in, and that stays really sturdy. I mean, that's not going anywhere. So that's all there is to it, and here's what we got. What do you think? I don't know about you guys, but I'm very excited for fall to come, and I love these pumpkins. And I love the smell of the cinnamon stick in the top. Another really fun thing to do with this is if you have that like creamy colored cotton lace ribbon, tie just a simple knot around the base of this and let it hang. Oh, it's so pretty. In fact, I think I might have some. Hold on. I can't find my actual little lacy like ribbon, but I did find my old pumpkin. This is just a knit pumpkin that I put some of this on, and I've got a broken cinnamon stick. This pumpkin's very old, actually. I've had this pumpkin. It's all like dirty and stuff, and my kids keep playing with it, but I've had this for like, I forget how many years. But yeah, like, look, that little bit of like lace on there would be super cute on here. I'm gonna have to get some more of this because that is stupid cute. And I usually just tie that, it's just loosely tied around the base, but I can't get that one off because I hot glued that one in. You don't have to, but yeah, so I hope you found this tutorial easy to follow. If you liked it, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any problems or questions, put them in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a lot of fun making these cute little pumpkins. They make great little gifts and stuff. They're great house decor. My kids like to play with them for some reason. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy them and make some fun, beautiful pumpkins for the upcoming fall season. And I hope you all have a beautiful and blessed day.